Hi everyone, this is Marianne and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be making on camera my daily pages for the rest of August 2022 using this beautiful Bavania Splendor Gel paper 160 GSM which I started using last time. The link to that video will be in the description box. Now the paper is US letter size and as before I'm going to cut them in half to make half letter sheets, print on them, and then trim down the paper even further to achieve my preferred paper size, which is the A5 Slim. And while waiting for the daily pages to finish printing, I am measuring this cover that I currently have on my planner because I want to make a new set of covers. I also have a video about how I made this planner with a Holly Go Lightly on the cover in a planner refresh video, and I will link that down below. I'm just going to do a mini planner refresh here in anticipation of some things that I need to deal with and take care of in the coming months. And because this planner is super handy with the small discs, I tend to bring it around so much more, so the cover art really does a lot for me when it comes to setting the vibe for my projects every single day. Here are the daily pages for the week of August 15 to 21 already printed out. And to cut them down to the final size, I just use a box cutter, a cutting mat, and a metal ruler. My preferred planner page size is the A5 Slim, which is the height of the A5 and the width of the personal. That means it's 210 millimeters tall and 95 millimeters wide. And I really love that tall, slim size because I am a lister. This planner page size was decided on by me during the One Book July of 2021, and I will list the playlist for that down below. This size, by the way, was suggested to me by a planner sister based in the Philippines. Her name is Niza Gueco, and I will also link her social media for the planner stuff on the description box. The only major change that I made to that from the One Book July 2021 configuration was to add a half sheet to the daily pages. As you can see, these are the rainbow colored half sheets that go in between the pages for the days. I also have a video about the half sheets, which I will link down below. And now we get to hole punching, and I just use this Happy Planner punch. I punch 2 sheets at a time because the paper is too thick. It's 160 GSM. And after all of the pages are hole punched, I will put them aside so I can work on the new covers. These are the covers that I chose. This is a picture that I downloaded from Unsplash. I will link this specific cover in the description box. Unsplash has tons of beautiful photos taken by professional photographers, and they are available for free for personal use, not for commercial. I printed 2 of the same image for the front and the back covers of my planner, and I just used this glossy photo paper. This one comes in a pack of 10 and cost me only 36 pesos. I purchased this from Hong. So I'm going to cut this down to the size that I want using the measurements that I took earlier. I cut off the bottom and the top first, and then to figure out where the center of the image is going to be, I used the actual poly cover that used to be on my planner, and I used that as a guide for where to cut. These are old books placed in a pile with a dark bookcase as a background, and the first time I saw this picture, it really called out to me because my next major creative project will be Gothic. Definitely Gothic. And to be seeing this Gothic picture, this Gothic vibe picture of old books every single time I use my planner every day will really help a lot in getting me into that Gothic vibe. For cutting the other cover that will go into the back, I just used the same process, making sure that the stack of books is right on the center of the picture before I cut it down to the final width. After that, it is time to laminate. I always cut off the excess lamination before feeding the project into the laminating machine so that I can still use the excess lamination for smaller projects in the future. And I put the excess lamination here in the plastic wrapping of the box that contains the full-sized pouches. Okay, now these laminating pouches are 125 microns, and for the most part they are okay for my needs. But because I plan to use these covers by themselves on their own without the poly covers on the front, like I did the previous one with a Holly Go Lightly cover, I decided to double up the lamination to make the material thicker and stiffer. This isn't the first time that I have done this double lamination trick. I did make a disc-bound commonplace notebook recently, and I doubled up the lamination, and it turned out okay. I will link that video down below. But after doing that, I realized that because this photo is quite dark, the additional layer of lamination sort of dampened the darkness, made the whole thing a little bit cloudy, even after running it through the laminating machine twice. And I did not like that effect. I wanted the picture to be as dark as the photographer intended because it's gothic, so the darker the better, right? That was what I think the photographer intended, and that is also my purpose for using this picture in the planner. So I decided that a possible compromise that I can use is to add an additional sheet of lamination only to the back part of the photo. So I cut down a laminating pouch or film to the slightly smaller size just to cover the area of the paper on the back, but which will still allow me some amount of excess to cut off later. And it works okay. I can feel that it is very slightly stiffer. Only very slightly, but it's better than just a single layer of lamination on the back. And I'll just see how this works in the next few days or weeks, if it holds up or if it doesn't. And after that, I just cut off all of the excess lamination flush against the edges of the photo because it's just a single layer or single piece of paper, and I don't need to make this project waterproof. So I am of the opinion that if it's just a single layer of paper, and if you don't need to make the project waterproof, we can get away with not leaving behind that few millimeters of extra lamination at the edges. This has always been how I have cut lamination after laminating a single sheet of paper, and so far nothing that I have made in this way has ever given me any problems. There has been no peeling at all. Okay, after I have decided that that's okay, I just went ahead and did the same process for the other cover that will go in the back. I printed out a new sheet of photo paper and then cut it down to size, laminated it with one sheet, and then laminated it with one sheet added only to the back, and then I cut off the excess lamination around the edges. Now to punch holes in these, I'm going to use a template. I have these sheets of scrap paper that's the height of the A5 and already hole punched with the Happy Planner punch, and that is what I will use as a template. To make sure that the hole punching will be centered, I even took out my little calculator and computed the height of the cover minus the 210 millimeters, which is the height of the paper, and what is left I divided by 2, and that is going to be the clearance that I will have to give on the bottom and the top of the covers. I used a ruler to make sure that I get that exact measurement. And to make the template stay, I just used binder clips, and then I go in with a single hole punch and a pair of scissors to punch out the holes. This has always been my process in hole punching anything plastic or laminated for the disc bound because my Happy Planner hole punch cannot punch plastic. It jams so badly and I do not want to ruin the hole punch. And then after hole punching, I just snip off a teeny tiny bit off of the corners because they can get sharp and pokey. And then one last feed into the machine and then it's done. Now this back cover has to be hole punched on the other side, on the right side, so that is where I placed my template. I just followed the exact same process, and finally the covers are done. Now here's my current planner once again, the one with Holly Go Lightly on the cover. It still has the 24mm black discs that I started out with, and sometimes the discs turn out to be too small because I'm now using 160 GSM paper for the daily pages, and I use a day on 2.6 pages. So that's a lot of thickness when stacked. So I got myself a set of 28mm black metal discs. These are the next size up from 24mm. From 24mm, it goes up straight to 28. There are no 26mm metal discs. At least none that I can find with my usual seller on Shopee. I will link the seller down below so you can see. So I'm going to try these 28mm black metal discs. I just popped them on like so, and then I transferred my pen loop to the new covers. This pen loop doesn't really have a repositionable glue, but based on my experience, if you always place it on plastic or on a plasticky surface like lamination, you can reposition it like I'm doing now. It left behind some residue, and I just covered that up with a piece of scrap paper for now. I will deal with that residue on a later day. And then it's just a matter of transferring all of the papers from the smaller discs to the larger discs, and also removing the things that I no longer need. On the front of the planner, I will still put in the sheets of 36 GSM mica onion skin paper that I am experimenting with. I have a video about this experiment on my channel, and I will link it down below. So far, none of the sheets have popped out of the discs, even if they get to move around on the discs a lot during the course of any given day. But I'm giving it more time before making a final conclusion. And here is my new daily time blocks that I'm currently implementing. I made a new one that is gray because the gray looks better with the black discs and the rainbow colors of the 24-hour time tracking sheets. And by the way, I do have some videos about the daily time blocks and also some videos about how I plan, and I will link all of them in the description box. At this point, I can now insert the new daily pages that I just made, the daily pages for August 15 to 21. Now, part of the daily pages configuration is a weekly task list that I always tip into the right edge of the Sunday spread. I have already printed that out weeks ago right here because I needed to plan a bunch of things already that will not fit on my monthly pages. So I'm just going to take these weekly sheets out, score it on the score line using a bookbinding awl, fold, crease, and then apply glue. I used this glue stick, but it wasn't effective, so I ended up using Elmer's glue, which worked so much better. I also already have on here the weekly task sheet for the following week, August 22 to 28, as well as for August 29 to September 4. I usually print out the weekly sheets ahead of time of the dailies so I can use them in advance as needed. And then I also have the month on 2 pages at the back part of the entire planner. But after assembling everything, I felt that it was too thin. The entire planner was too thin for the 28mm discs. I feel like if 26mm discs were available, they would have been the perfect size discs for what I already have on here at this part of the video. But because I have the 28, I decided to take advantage of the slightly larger discs and decided to print one more week of daily pages. I've printed them out and hole punched them, and here they are, the daily pages for the week of August 22 to 28. I placed them on the discs, and I also attached or tipped in the weekly task list, just like I did earlier for the previous week. I also added in more of the monthly sheets. There used to be only until January 2022 on here because the semester I'm going to be enrolled in this August ends in January. But I decided to add in the monthly sheets until August 2023. That way I get to have here 12 months of the monthly, which I use a lot for future planning. Not that far back actually, but I do have a lot of submissions planned from here on out anyway. And this is just right It turned out to be just the right thickness, and I feel more comfortable having more of the daily pages on here using the thicker 160 GSM paper. Now on here I have the current week plus 2 weeks in advance, and for me that feels just right. Plus 1 year of the monthlies and the onion skin paper experiment as well. If eventually I feel like I need smaller discs, I might go back to the 24 millimeter discs by taking out some of the monthlies, and the mica onion skin paper experiment might be already over by then. But for now, I'm going to see how the 28 millimeter discs go and also observe how the covers hold up. Now I just want to give you here a better look at the discs that I used. This is the 24 millimeter disc, and here is the 28 millimeter disc. And that is my little process video for you today. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you were able to get some ideas that you can use for your own planner. I'm so happy with the end product, and I especially like the covers. This is very goth, very dark, and very, very bookish. I'm really looking forward to using this. Thanks for watching. Bye.